Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the Board of Adjustment to order. This is the March 4th, 2024 Board of Adjustment. Not one to stay on. And first, let me kind of go over some basics for you. First of all, electronic devices, if you'll put those on silent, I'd appreciate it so we don't have any disturbance. And if you've got anything you want the board to review or handouts, if you'll give them to staff now so that we don't have a disturbance or have to stop and to share those. I think everything's been disseminated, but I'll just make sure we cover that again. All right. We have so far 6 of the members present. One may be late, but it takes 5 to affirm a motion. So we do have a quorum with the 6 here. And even if we have a recusal, 5 is what it takes to carry a motion. So with that, I'm going to start with the roll call, and then we'll proceed. Mr. Davis? Absent. Mr. Golden? Here. Mr. Metcalf? Here. Mr. Milling? Mr. Milling is supposed to be late, but absent at the moment. Mr. Carroll? Here. Mr. Morris? Here. Mr. Atchison? Here. Mr. Atchison is supernumerary, and he's filling in for Mr. Davis. And I'm William Guess, serving as chair. So we'll proceed with the meeting as scheduled. And with that, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is adopted as presented. I'm going to continue. Oh, there we go. I got it to work now. First of all, let's go over some of the basic rules of the meeting. First, we'll call an agenda item, and the applicant will come to the podium, give us her name and address for the record, and we'll give that individual 5 minutes to speak in as it relates to their application. And then the board will obviously potentially ask questions at that time, and then we'll allow that applicant to sit, and then 4 individuals in support may come to the podium and give us comments, and then 4 in opposition. So if you got a large group, I always say pick your best 4. That way we don't have to sort through that as well through the meeting. And then we'll give the applicant another 1-minute opportunity for a rebuttal if there's anything that we need to address with questions. Let's see here. If there's any questions after the board has their vote, you can contact the planning department, and that's 251-208-5895. And then let's see if there's anything else I want to really cover at this time. I think that satisfies the requirements. All right, so with that, we'll start in order. 6570, if the applicant will come to the podium, please. No problem. And if you will, pull the mic to you so we can hear you. And is the mic on?
I do it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Guest.
Your name and address for the record.
My name is John Lawler. My address is Commerce Building, Mobile, Alabama.
Okay. And
804.
And this is a holdover from a previous meeting. You want to go ahead and proceed with telling the board why we should consider the application.
I'm here on behalf of Dr. Kellum, who made a addition to her home there, a carport in front, much like carports are in front on down the street. Unfortunately, she did that without a permit. Some confusion among her part about what she was going to do. And I want to let her explain all that to you. She's going to speak next. But what I want to say to you is, this is a situation where we have a carport But we need to decide whether or not, and you of course, and we thank you that you're here to decide whether or not what she has done creates a negative impact for the community, for neighbors, or for the public, or whether or not it's a public hazard. You know, zoning is under the police power, and it's really to protect. And she will explain what she has done, and I believe you'll be convinced once you have heard that there's no negative impact anywhere. And it's something that's important to her, and she'll explain that why she needs all this. She's constrained by the size of the property, the way it's located on the lot, and surrounding things. And those were the issues. But the three issues that are you called upon to address are whether or not there's a negative impact to the community at large, whether there's a negative impact to a neighbor, and whether or not it's a hazard of some sort to allow it to continue, whether or not it violates police powers. In other words, and with that, I'll let Dr. Kellum come up and speak.
Okay. And it's a formality, your name and address too.
Melissa Kellum, 2815 Grant Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36606.
Okay. So tell us about the hardship of the property.
So when I bought this house, it was in August of 20. That's the time COVID was really, really strong. There were 4 trees beside my house. I knew the fence was falling down. That was something that I needed to replace, but there were 4 trees beside my house, and every time there was bad weather, a huge limb would fall on the house. So first thing I did was had a tree company come out there. I didn't even know that they needed a permit, but they did the right thing. They got a permit. Every tree was rotten. They'd been struck by lightning numerous times, and I think I uploaded a picture to show where, they were strictly hollow, so they're like, these trees need to come down. Cut the trees down and immediately realized the other problem I had behind it, and it was my neighbors have about an 8-foot thick sections of bamboo that are about 20 feet tall, if not taller, going all the way down the side of my property. Now, these trees held most of that bamboo back. So then I realized in the summer when it's growing like crazy, it became a tunnel laying on my house where I had to drive my car up under it. That's when I decided that I needed a fence. I called Hagen Fence. They came out. We cut all the vines. It was on the other fence that was rotten. That fence came down, and instead of stopping where it was, they came all the way to the front of my house to try to hold back that bamboo. Now, you can't even see through the bamboo anyway, and my fence stopped right where the bamboo was. Hagen Fence put it up. I was going to spend another about $12,000 to make it gated. The car, during that time, the neighbor across the street from me had their car stolen in broad daylight. The house next door to me got broken into. I worked a very lot of long, unusual hours. Parking in the back is not an option really for me, the way the property is set up. So being gated was really big for me. I wanted lights out front for me to be able to drive and go in my front door. So they came and put the fence up, and then the carport went up. This has been about a year. And then all of a sudden I get a letter from the city asking for permits. First thing I do is call Hagen Fence. Did you get a permit? We went through that. Then at the time, because I was working so many hours due to COVID, a friend of mine was like, I'll get all this set up for you. I got friends that can put the carport up. And I was just thankful. And they did. They put the carport up. So when I got the letter, I called downtown immediately and go, what do I need? They got a permit. So I called the friend who did it, and he goes, we didn't get a permit. So, of course, it falls all back on me. Okay, and that's when all of this kind of got started. I completely stopped finishing that fence because I know that if I can't become gated and if I can't have a carport due to all the trees around there, that I probably would move. So I just completely stopped everything I was doing, trying to finish my place. And that's kind of where we are now, almost 2 years later, dealing with this. But that's kind of reason why the decisions were made. And I know I made mistakes. I realize that now. But I'm just hoping I don't have to take everything down that I've put up.
Okay. Any questions on the board for the applicant?
I have a
Yes.
question. It appears as though you have a concrete parking area to the rear of the house with a driveway and a gate.
There was a gate there, that's correct. But there's only like one car, you couldn't turn around. There's really not much room back there. The way the lot is, it goes in. It's just very unusual. I tried parking back there and of course getting out and opening that gate. And the fence was already rotten, so that's when I decided to put up a fence. Part of the fence was wooden and part of that fence was iron. I would have rather gone back with iron because I would have never had to replace it again. But when the bamboo came into issue, the bamboo just grows right through the iron. And because my driveway is right beside it, it's hitting my car, going down it, every day. So eventually getting people to come out there and ask about making a carport for me. Everybody kept saying it's not going to work in the back. You're too close to your next door's neighbor. So they said, just put it on the front. Don't attach it to your house and you'll be fine. And I just took their advice.
Okay. Any additional questions of the board? Okay. Do we have anyone here that wants to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay. If you'll have a seat.
Thank you.
Afternoon. Your name and address.
Good afternoon. I'm Priscilla Gold-Darby, 306 Cottage Hill Road, 36606. So my house fronts on Cottage Hill Road, and Cottage Hill is a pretty busy thoroughfare and not a neighborhood. But my house has a big lot that curves, and that is on Grant Street, and I use that entrance as my entrance and exit from my home. And Grand Street is a neighborhood, lots of small family houses, and everyone has carports. And I am very happy to have a neighbor, and I have no problem with the update that Ms. Kellum has done to her property. I think it enhances it now because it gives it some nice structure in the front. And in my opinion, it does not negatively impact the neighborhood at all.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Do we have anyone else on behalf of the applicant? Anyone in opposition that's here today? All right. Unless the applicant has anything else to say, I think that will conclude the public hearing on this application. Mr. Lawler gave some comments regarding the intent and the associated hardship. I would say too that it would appear that this lot has kind of an odd angle to it.
Yes, they had brought up last month that it was in line with the rest of the street. And so earlier today, the GIS department put, here's from Grant Park to Cottage Hill Road. Here's the site in question. Here's the 25-foot setback line on both sides of Grant Street. And then the red line is the line to which the carport is built.
So how much space does that leave between the structure of the carport and the right-of-way?
Less than 3 feet.
Okay. And there are other districts in the city where there's zero setbacks from the right-of-way or?
Only downtown.
Yeah. And the applicant is asking for a variance to remove the setback for the carport, and what's the issue with the fence? It's too tall within the setback?
That is correct. It's a 6-foot-tall wooden privacy fence built up to the front property line. When the fence permit was obtained last year, the application stated that the front 73 feet of fencing would be aluminum or chain link fencing, which is allowed to be 6 feet in that setback. So it was not built according to the permit.
So what's the approved height?
For a privacy fence within the front 25-foot setback, it cannot exceed 3 feet.
But a chain link can, because it doesn't impair the visual
That is correct,
issues
yes,
from the
sir.
street.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what's the distance between the property line and the street itself, the pavement? I don't know.
If you look
The
at
area that's marked as grass and concrete, which is, from the property line to the actual road.
So if you look at the site plan, that's under the application documents on your iPad for this document here. It does show 16.2 feet from the property line to the edge of pavement
Okay.
for the street.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chairman, I
further
have a
questions? Yes.
question for staff. The applicant mentioned other carports that were sitting in the front setback, and I can't picture any.
There are garages on the front of homes to the east, but as you can tell, they're built in compliance with setbacks.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions of the staff or for the applicant? Any further comments? I have a question for the applicant real quick, if you'll come. Ms. Kellen? Yeah, Ms. Kellen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
the bamboo that you reference, where on this drawing would that be?
The what now?
The bamboo that you talked about?
So if you're looking straight at that picture, it's on the left side where my driveway is. You can see there's only one room, and it's literally, the bamboo was growing up in my front yard, actually on the city. It was going under my concrete.
So
from
it's
the-
on the west side of
Oh, it's
it.
on the west side, that is correct.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you had chain link fence on a section of where the carport is, it's not an issue with the bamboo?
I would have loved to gone with the iron fence, the way the front's gonna look right. But I thought if I'm gonna stop the bamboo with the wooden, it's not gonna look right with the iron fence, so that's the reason why I kept it the same. That's the reason why I went straight forward with the wooden fence that tall.
Oh,
Had there not been bamboo, I would have done all iron.
but the bamboo is on the west side. It's not where the carport currently.
It's not where the carport, it's where you drive in.
Right. So-
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Once again, any more questions of the board? All right, with that, Chair, I entertain a motion.
I have a question. Are we dealing, and this is for staff, are we dealing with a variance for the carport and the fence, or just the carport?
The application was submitted just for the carport. However, in review, staff has, the fence issue has come to staff's attention, so I think it would be appropriate for the board to consider both both issues.
Yes.
I didn't think we could do that without it actually being because of notices. So we can't address fence.
If you were inclined to approve the carport, you could make a condition of having the fence come into compliance or something of that effect.
And to come into compliance, that means that that section would have to be 3 feet.
Or converted to chain link, yes, sir.
Beautiful chain link. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Or, could I ask a question? Or a metal open, like a,
Iron or aluminum picket, correct.
right. Okay. All right. Once again, Chair, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? Okay, motion fails. Do I have a second motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
make a motion to approve, including bringing the fence in, that section of the fence into compliance. And that would be based upon the considerations 1 through 3 on page 3 of the application, or the,
Findings of fact.
yeah, findings of fact.
Okay, I have a motion with a condition to bring the fence into compliance. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, we have 5 to affirm and 1 in opposition. All right, thank you. All right, applications 6529, 6394. This is regarding 133 Eaton Square.
Good afternoon, David Dexter, 164 St. Francis Street, requesting an extension of the variance on behalf of the applicants, Richard and Melly Noble.
Okay, what's the purpose for the request for the extension?
I just don't think their contractor has gotten everything organized and ready to complete the project.
So they're requesting a 6-month extension?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that acceptable with staff normally? Okay. All right, any questions of the board? All right, do we have anyone here either in favor or opposition regarding the application today? Okay, we have none for the record. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public hearing on the request for the extension. Chair, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
6 month.
Yes.
I have a motion to approve 6-month extension. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we're on application 6537, 6205. Will the applicant come to the podium, please? Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Stephen Harvey. I'm with the firm McDowell Knight, 11 North Water Street, Mobile. 6 months ago, I guess I was down before y'all asking for, this was special exception approval, not a variance.
Right.
The owner of the property, my client, is Alabama Export Railroad, and they had this property under contract, or almost all of it, when we came down here before, and during our due diligence period, we were checking zoning and all that, and realized we needed to get special exception approval to be able to have rail service in I-1. So y'all granted that approval. It's such a large site. We knew we were going to have to come back here for an extension. We just closed on the property in December. And I mean, it's 150 acres, and it's going to take a long time to develop, plan, and build this thing out. In fact, it may take several years. So I don't know, is there any other mechanism for not having to come down here every 6 months?
Once the initial permit's obtained and the site plan shows compliance, even if you're not utilizing, fully developing out, once you obtain that first permit and break ground, the special exception's activated and it carries forward with the property.
So if we did this, which we will do in piecemeal fashion, you know.
Phase 1 has to be within 6 months of the extension, or else you're asking for another extension to obtain a permit for construction.
Right, but if we get one for one rail service, that's not good. That's not going to make the special exception approval stick for the rest of it.
No, it will. It's just
It will.
when you get that first permit,
all right.
it needs to show phase 1, whichever one, phase 2 and 3 per special exception approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment in fall of 2023. But once you get that phase 1 permit, you've activated it for the whole site.
Okay, good. That's great.
Okay, are you good?
That's it.
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, do we have anyone here in favor or opposition to the applicant's request for an extension? All right, we have none. Concludes the public hearing on this request for an extension for a special exception that was previously granted. Chair, entertain a motion. Motion for approval. A motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's move on. Application 6572. Good afternoon. Name and address?
Good afternoon. My name is Orrin Robinson. I'm with Victor Sign Company, and our address is 5000 Whitworth Road, Mobile, Alabama. I'm here to request a sign variance for the new Dave & Buster's that is going in at 1757 East I-65 Service Road. This is that large vacant lot that is right there at the corner of Highway 90 and I-65, directly across from the Top Golf. This is going to be a Dave & Buster's. I know some of you are familiar with them. It's a relatively large building that's going to be built. It's a restaurant and entertainment venue. They have games and what have you. It's kind of going to be a nice addition to that area that has seen a lot of growth here in the past few years. It is a single tenant lot, so they're allowed 3 signs, one of which can be a freestanding sign. We are going to propose a freestanding sign for this development, but we don't have the design of it pinned down just yet. There also, since we have the freestanding sign in the works, there'd only be allowed 2 wall signs. But the variance is in essence for an extra wall sign, which is a painted ampersand on one side of the building, which is one of Dave & Buster's logos. That sign that you see on the screen right now is a set of channel letters. That will be internally illuminated, and that is going to be on one end of the building. There, you can see it better. That sign we just had up there is B. That one right there, yeah. If you flip back over, you'll see top left is B. A is the big Dave & Buster's logo. I think it's 12 feet in diameter. Those 2 signs do conform to the size requirements. And then back over here, and G in the very top right, that's the side of the building that is shown in the bottom photograph where that painted ampersand will be. And that ampersand is what we're going to delete if we don't get the approval. But it's not going to be internally illuminated. It will have some lighting from the top, as you see on that photograph, or that rendering.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Orrin, you've got, looks like proposed window sign, and then you've got 2 proposed wall signs.
That's an error, and I did not submit that. That came from someone else. That window sign that shows right there is actually a graphic that's going to be inside the window. So that's not part of this here.
So the site plan that we're looking at is not right.
Right. Well, go back right there. Yeah. I've got the correct site plan. I sent the correct one, and it shows A, B, C, or A, B, and G. G is actually the sign we're talking about. It's going to be in the top right-hand corner of the building right there, kind of facing up a little high, right there. Now, the one that you see, the red one that says proposed window sign to the left, that's going to be inside. So that's not part of this. So actually, that red block should be over there on the top right-hand corner. That will be the 3 there. That will be the 3 exterior signs.
Where's the big ampersand?
Going to be top right-hand corner, right there.
Facing government?
Yes.
South?
Right.
And it's just an ampersand?
That's all it is. Just a big ampersand.
And
That's
how tall is it? Well,
it's let's see. I've got it here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
It is, man, I wish I could see better. I can tell you because it's on all these
What's that
drawings.
supposed to tell us about Dave & Buster's? Oh, there's 2 of them.
I've never been in one. I've seen all their commercials.
It looks like it's about 24 feet tall.
Okay, yeah. Almost as tall as the building. You can see right there, yeah. Like I said, my eyes don't work as well. It's on this drawing. It does look like it's 24 feet. It's going to be large, but there again, it's not internally illuminated. It's a mural, is what they like to call it.
Question for staff,
painted.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If they didn't get their ampersand, is everything else? Okay. That's just the third or the, okay.
Since it doesn't say anything, is this kind of like a brand?
Yes.
Is that why they're using that?
Mhm.
Okay. I was gonna say, why is that?
That's
considered
just part
sign?
of their logo, right?
Logo, yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Okay. Any other questions of the board? All right, do we have anyone here either in favor or opposition today? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That'll conclude our public hearing on this application. This almost really has like 3 streets. How many streets front this totally? Because you got government, you got the service road, you got,
Well,
East
it's really
Commerce?
just the curve of the service road. You have Commerce Boulevard, or excuse me, Commerce Drive on the side.
plus it's visible from the interstate.
Yes, but in terms of quote, street frontage, you're dealing with 2 streets. Commerce Drive along the side and the I-65 service road.
Okay.
This might give you a little better perspective. I think that's gas station right there, and then
It
automobile.
just seems like it's got a lot of street frontage, in my
That
opinion.
radius gives it a
That
lot of
whole area.
frontage.
And the fact that there's nothing on the, I guess it's the south side that identifies? South is government side, right?
And into government, that really shows you what you have is frontage along the Cloverleaf, and then when you go around the curve, you start getting into the frontage with the car dealerships along government.
Right.
Or the government service road.
I guess my comment is the signage is pretty much all facing west for the most part. And then you just, that would be the only thing on the south profile of the building. And not sure everybody would know what that represents from a signage standpoint, but, okay. Chair entertain a motion if there's any further comments. All right. So the applicant's looking for 3 wall signs and 1 freestanding.
I'll make the motion to approve, considering findings of fact 1 through 3.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I would say that this, does any of the file need to be updated to reflect that what we were presented does not accurately show where that third
We
sign
can
is?
do a clarification stating 1 wall sign to the front oriented towards the I-65 service road, and then 1 wall sign facing east towards Government Boulevard, because they don't have the window sign
Okay. All right.
there.
With that, do I have a second? Okay, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's go to application 6573, 3314 Harbor View Court. Afternoon, your name and address, sir?
William Youngblood, 1525 Westchester Lane, Mobile, Alabama, 36695.
Okay, you want to tell us the purpose of your application, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm here requesting a variance for power to be allowed to go to the boathouse at the lot that does not have a house on it.
Okay, is there a reason that you've chosen not to put a structure on the property besides the boathouse?
The builder has not been selected to put the house on the lot. Is the only lot left in that subdivision. And we obtained a permit from the Corps of Engineers, and we also obtained permission from Dr. Jeremiah Cobb that did not require permit to have power.
Okay. So the intent is to actually build a structure at some point when a builder is chosen?
Yes, sir. Everything has been done. The line was dug, the electrical line was placed. There's a box On the boat shed, it does not have a meter in it, but everything's ready. And when the electrician went to apply for the permit, it was not granted. And so we've been working ever since to get one.
Okay. Should this require maybe an extension or a holdover?
The purpose of the variance, it's essentially a use variance.
Right.
He's attempting to put a boathouse on a adjacent, essentially in the riparian rights of an R1 piece of property. There's no primary structure.
Correct, I understand that.
And I believe when the application was made, there isn't a time frame for when the residence would be constructed, correct?
There is in the covenants and restrictions, but those restrictions are not being upheld by the homeowners association. And I have that in writing.
We don't enforce those.
that's-
So, but we didn't even have a timeline for when a home's going to be built on the property. Is there one?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, any other questions of the board for the applicant? All right, do we have anyone here in favor of the application today? Do we have anyone in opposition today? All right. With that, thank you, sir. That'll
Thank you.
conclude our public hearing on this application.
Mr. Chair, question
Yes.
for staff. Didn't we have something similar recently? Where there was a timeline for construction of
There was a couple of ladies that came here with a family property.
Yeah, down off River Shane.
that, or,
The one that you're talking about with the two ladies that got that wasn't quite the same. There was one several months ago, I believe, for something similar. I'll have to check in.
I thought they had asked for an extension.
I'm
To
thinking
give
of a
them
different,
time.
I'm thinking of the more recent.
Yeah.
There was a more recent application there.
All right,
I
well,
want
we're,
to say it was a gazebo type situation for family barbecues.
It was.
correct.
There was a shed that
Yeah, but they had timelines attached to it, not open-ended.
Ms. Pappas is correct. That the one that you and I are thinking of was withdrawn.
Oh, okay, right.
Chairman, I have a question for staff. Are we certain the UDC was trying to limit boathouses? I understand an accessory structure on a lot in a neighborhood where there are built-out houses, but I don't think it's the rarest thing in the world for someone to have a waterfront lot and want to start with access to the water and then build a house after the fact. I see that done quite a bit.
The requirement that there has to be a primary structure in order to have an accessory structure predates the UDC going back to the 1967 ordinance. Frequently what happens with a boathouse is they are completely over the water. Thus, a building permit from the city is not required because there is no foundation in the ground. So you'll have a situation like this one where it's essentially built because there's nothing to check the permitting process and for zoning compliance until in this situation they come in for electrical.
So electrical crossing the land triggers needing
And the-
building on that land?
A new electrical service requires zoning approval as part of the checks to make sure that what it's servicing is compliant.
So the board doesn't have any oversight for the boathouse because of the Corps of Engineer approval?
You would because you've still got a accessory structure without a primary structure.
But it's not on
But
the
it's-
lot.
But you have riparian rights, which extend beyond the water's edge, but the city of Mobile's building code does not. This all falls under the jurisdiction of the Corps.
Not to get too into the weeds, but if he gave himself an easement to his boathouse that doesn't fall under the city of Mobile, would it trigger
The thing is, from a zoning perspective, we could have a lot of discussion on flood compliance, core compliance, building code compliance, where people within whose lane that more appropriately falls. From a zoning perspective, you have no primary structure. And that is so that the integrity of the R1 community can be maintained. The board is before you as to whether or not there's something unique about this property that keeps it from being developed like all the other properties along Harborview Court.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Do we have any communications from the neighborhood or the community? Okay. All right. All right.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 I vote to oppose. So we had 5 to affirm. Okay, and 1 opposition, so the motion carries. All right, we'll go to the next application, 6574. And Mr. Golden's going to recuse himself. That leaves 5 members to hear and to vote on this application. And I want to, go ahead, sir, come on down. For you to know, it only takes 1 to vote in opposition for the motion to fail. So
Okay.
do you wish to continue knowing that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead, your name and address,
Only
sir.
one of y'all in opposition. Only one of you in
Only
opposition.
takes 1. Yeah, go ahead and your name and address for the record.
Mike Burnbury, address 2596 Green Meadows Lane, Brookhaven, Georgia 30319.
Okay. So do you understand my point? We have to have a supermajority to affirm 5 of the 7. Only 5 of us are here at the moment now. So therefore, all 5 have to vote to affirm a motion. To either,
Why did one recuse?
because I think he had some business.
He was involved with the purchase of this building previously, and he contacted me last week, and after explaining it to me, I said it'd be best from a conflict situation that he recuse himself.
Yeah, and one of our members is still not here for whatever reason. So with that, I always tell, whenever this comes up, I always tell the applicants that you have that right. You could request a holdover until there's 6 available to vote, or 7 if we have a supernumerary setting in on the meeting.
Got it. So, okay.
So it's your prerogative if you want to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I know, it's an uphill battle based on all the opposition against it. I came all this way. I don't know if holdover would help my chances. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do you want to maybe see about putting the application towards the end of the meeting to see if Mr. Milling comes to, can make it to hear the application?
Yeah, we could do that. I think that would be fair to you as the applicant to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. For the record,
There's
all
quite
these
a few
people here,
to
so
either vote.
it would still take a vote to hold it over.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. If you'll have a seat, we'll move on to the agenda, and then we'll come back to that. Please remind me. Thank you for that advice. We'll go to application 6575. This is number 7 on the agenda regarding 5327 Halls Mill Road. Name and address for the record.
Hi, good afternoon. Jennifer Jackson, 3345 Halls Mill Road.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. Can I get you to just hang around for a second? We've been asked to have a 2-minute recess for a second.
Okay.
And we'll come back and start with your application. Yes. Anybody else needs to take a quick break? No, you always can. Any one of you can say. What happened to our applicant? Oh, she's over here. All right, we're going to reconvene. If our applicant can come back to the podium, we'll start. Your name and address.
Jennifer Jackson, 3345 Halls Mill Road. I'm representing Ryko Signs.
Okay, and if you will, tell the board why we should consider the application.
Yes, sir. We currently have a mod washed. It's zone B3, which allows 2 wall signs and a pylon. The city notified us that the existing pylon was out of compliance. We have acquired an engineer to modify the pylon, bringing it into compliance at an overall height of 30 feet. So we know that that meets the planning and zoning requirements. However, our customer is asking for 2 new signs. I myself have been at the property numerous times, and I will say currently they have a sign on the northeast side, the front elevation. It faces Halls Mill Road. From the intersection of Halls Mill and Range Lawn, the BP completely blocks that front signage. So customers aren't able to see that, and that's on the northeast elevation. The southwest is the side. It also faces Halls Mill. This is the car wash exit. So we're having the southeast and the northwest elevations are what the customer is requesting. So the southeast, when you come westbound on Halls Mill Road, the side has limited visibility, again, to the BP blocking that section. And keep in mind, so this side elevation, it's the main car wash, the main entrance to the car wash. So when you drive in, it's just a big blank white wall. And also the northwest elevation. So this side, you can only be seen from Walmart. So Walmart sees that. And this side faces Walmart. You can't tell what the business is. You only see all of the vacuums. So they're just requesting more visibility for an already built structure.
Okay, which sign faces Walmart?
The side, it'd be the northwest side. It's all the parkings and the vacuums.
I think the best way to do it's by color. Red faces Walmart, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And then, so that one's proposed, and this one's proposed. The blue.
Yeah, the 2 reds, yes. On the right-hand side, the red, yes, that's the car wash entrance. It is not clearly marked.
Correct.
And then this side with all the vacuums, that can only be seen from Walmart's parking lot.
Okay. So the car wash entrance, so there's nothing else that would indicate to people, individuals utilizing this facility, that that's the only way to go into it?
Not really, just a few little directionals. Yes, sir. It's very, it's an enigma. It's completely blank on those 2 sides.
No, I'm thinking about controls.
Oh yeah, just a few directionals.
Okay. Because most car washes, it's pretty clear which is the entrance, which side is
Mhm.
the exit. That's the
Yes,
reason why
sir.
I'm not clear why we need a sign to tell them that. Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience either in support or opposition today? All right. Oh, yes, we do? Okay. Thank you. Your name and address, please.
Hi there, I'm Julie Manning, and I'm here on regard of the Mod Wash on
What's
Halls
your
Mill
address?
Road,
Your address?
the Halls Mill Road address.
Your address. Or,
Oh, 234 Webster Road, Graham, North Carolina.
He lives in a car wash.
So for me, I traveled from North Carolina. I'm here in support. I am actually a representative of Mod Wash. I'm on the business side of it, hoping to advocate for them. I traveled from North Carolina and got here at about 11:30 midnight last night. We drove by the car wash while there's no traffic, while everything's illuminated, and with a logo I recognize, I could not find the building with the address. So the BP does completely block the front side that faces Halls Mill. And until you really get around the corner to get to the entrance, that's when you can see the building. Seeing that building with no signage that says car wash, mod wash, anything, it's kind of unideal. So that's the hardship there. It's unideal to have a business that you consistently are having to slow down traffic to be able to figure out what it is. Am I at the right spot? I could see how it could cause issues when there is traffic. And that's all.
okay. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I agree with you. That stretch right in there is kind of strange, and it is hard to see that car wash. I've been watching it. But have y'all considered a monument sign?
We will be putting a freestanding sign that is a pylon sign using the existing pole, yes. So theoretically, once that is up, when you're coming this way and about to turn onto Halls Mill Road, you should be able to see the freestanding sign at least a little bit. It's being lowered to 30 feet, so I'm imagining we'll be able to see the top left-hand corner, hopefully.
Any other questions? Yes.
Sure.
Staff. So you said they're gonna have a freestanding sign. Would they already put the application in for that, or what?
We'll need one.
They are allowed a total of 3 signs, and they have an application pending for the pylon sign, which that sign with the existing 2 signs puts them at 3. So now they are asking for the 2 additional building signs, which puts them up to 5.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone in the audience that also would like to speak in support or opposition? All right. I'd say that concludes our public hearing. I can see the one that's on the south side being necessary, and the pylon for sure, as Mr. Metcalf indicated, but I'm not sure the entrance sign to the right is necessary from my perspective. There ought to be some way to put an entrance or some directional that takes care of that issue. So with that, I would recommend that we approve one additional. So Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval, but based upon your suggestion to just have the 2.
The pylon and then the pylon's already.
That's right.
By right.
That'll be in compliance.
So essentially, I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
Mr. Metcalf, you're looking to recommend making a motion for the 1 freestanding sign and then a total of 3 signs on the building.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you were saying 2 signs on the building, correct?
No, you got the 2 blue already. and then the one that's on the south, that's towards the parking area. That one there.
That's one of the ones being requested.
Right, that's the one I would recommend. The one at the entrance on the right side, I don't see a purpose for that.
I don't either.
Okay.
So if your motion is for the one additional sign, I think that's all it
Facing
requires.
Southwest, yeah. Yes, it's really screwy through there, but yes. So that'd be two building signs and the pylon. 3.
Total of 3.
Total of 3.
No.
No.
You're giving a variance for one additional sign.
That's correct. 3 are allowed on the site, 1 freestanding, 2 on the building. You're allowing a 3rd on the building. Isn't that your intention?
My intention, yes. That's my confusion.
That was my recommendation.
Yeah. I'm going to defer to the, why don't you just make the.
You made the motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second. Any further discussion? And that's in compliance with the findings of fact, 1 through 3. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about the confusion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Milling will be here in about 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll go to application 8 while we're waiting on Jeremy's arrival. Application 6576, 6508, 6209. This is regarding 5440 US Highway 90 West.
Okay. Jennifer Jackson, Radco Signs, 3345 Halls Mill Road. This site has come up before. I will say I don't believe anyone else is in the audience to speak on it, but that was not the case last time. So if someone's here, I am not aware of that. They currently have 2 wall signs. Please keep in mind, they previously have won a sign variance here for this location. This location now allows 2 wall signs on a multi-tenant commercial site in the B3 district. They just want to replace and update the side elevation. That's the drive-through. It's out of service. The E is cracked. We essentially want to take it down and put up a functioning and updated sign that matches the font of the front. So this would be the one. There's currently no awning right now, but this one, the E and little is cracked, and it's really squished together, and the font doesn't look. They have a new sign on the front. They just want to match the side elevation with the front, with a functioning sign.
And I think you're right. We heard
This
one
is the
previously.
exact same application
Yeah.
as was here previously. They simply didn't act on it, so it had expired.
And we did approve that one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay. Do we have anyone here either in support or opposition today? All right. Thank you. That'll conclude our public hearing on this application. And as stated, this was previously approved and apparently expired. Okay. With that knowledge, Chair, will entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Application 6577. This is number 9 on our agenda regarding 2200 West I-65 Service Road South. Is the applicant here? Yep.
Good afternoon. Colby Price, 105 Gray Moss Lane, Anderson, South Carolina. And I'm with 633 Development. We are the developer of the site.
I think you provided us
Yes,
these?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For the board to review.
For your viewing pleasure. I won't go into every page of this, but the proposed development, if you're not aware, is a 4-story apartment complex, Class A apartment complex, located off the I-65 service road, just south of the White Spunner construction office, just north of, Ratcliffe Construction. Thank you. There's 2 buildings on the site. They would be phased in with Lot A being first. That building would have roughly 254 units in it, and then the second building on Lot B is proposed to have 209 for a total of 463 units. There are 3 variance requests in front of you, and I'll just, if staff doesn't care what order we go through them in, I'll start rolling through them. The first one is a height variance. So per the ordinance, currently 45 feet is the height restriction. I'll look to staff on this because I think there might be a little bit of confusion on how height is being looked at on this structure. So it's a little different from some of the apartment complexes currently in the city, in the fact that it's a flat roof, not a gabled pitch roof. So if the roof height of this structure is...
Does it have a parapet?
It has a parapet, yes.
So let's go with the parapet.
Okay,
height.
so the parapet height that we're requesting, max height on the parapet height is 58 feet. Not the entire structure, but at its max heights. And the reason for that is the roof structure is 48 feet. So to properly screen the rooftop equipment and things like that, we're asking for that addition, and then provide some architectural elements, obviously not a just flat roof line. We're requesting that 58 feet. And Chairman, I don't know if you want to take each one of these one at a time or go
No,
through
we'll just
all
keep
of
going.
them. Okay.
Keep going. And I have the liberty of giving you more time because of the scale of what we're talking about.
I appreciate that. We feel like this is a reasonable ask, given that the surrounding properties are office, retail, there's entertainment, some of which was heard previously, that have, if you take the Topgolf into account, net poles that are 165 feet in the air, Costco, things like that, that are in the scale of this project. Because we're trying to build a Class A apartment, we are doing 10-foot ceilings floor to floor. So that in itself gets me to the 40 feet when I figure in the trusses and the parapets. That's how we get to the 58 feet.
Okay, let's talk about density.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So the density request is solely related to Lot B. So if we were not proposing a subdivision, which will go in front of council on the 21st, we would be allowed 463 units on the 18.5 acres that we're purchasing. We're still asking for that 463 units. We're not asking to increase the density on the whole. The issue is because we're proposing the subdivision that you see, and we're proposing that because of our lender and the fact that we may build this in phases, and in turn, I may have a different lender and different investors on the Lot B parcel. I need to be able to collateralize that differently. So that lot is smaller. So I'm basically underbuilding. What I'm proposing is I'm underbuilding the density that I could on Lot A, but I need to overbuild the density that I could on Lot B. So the request of the board would be that I be granted that variance on the density of Lot B, but not a variance on the overall density for Lot A and B combined.
How many more units on Lot B are you proposing than what would be allowed?
So there's a chart in your packet there that may help understand that, but it's 209 units would be in the building that you see on Lot B.
Just for staff, some of the numbers in the staff report on the application are a little off from these numbers.
Yes, based on the application submitted, we had that Lot B has 210 units.
Well, there was and it's noted in the staff report, there was I think a rounding issue between the.
No, I understand the rounding issue, because you can't have a partial unit, but we had that Lot B is proposing 210 units. Is
Yeah,
it
and I'm saying 209 to
It
account
is
for the
209.
rounding issue.
Okay. Mr. Atchison, did that kind of answer your question?
That
Sorry for
helps.
that
I
confusion.
understood where we were going. I just want to make sure we may need to make some comments at the end to clean up how it's typed out.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, we'll continue. Landscape.
Yes, so similar to the request on the density, because of the way the lot's being subdivided, there's not enough frontage area for the landscaping per the ordinance. So what we're proposing is that we over landscape Lot A and under landscape Lot B, so in totality, they meet the intent of the ordinance from the frontage landscape perspective.
Okay. Once again, any questions of the board? All right. And I want to make a note that Mr. Milling has joined us, so we have 7 voting members now present. And any questions of the board for the applicant on this application? All right, do we have anyone in support that has something to add or opposition? Okay. If you have a seat, sir. Good afternoon, your name and
Good
address.
afternoon. Charles Tischer. I'm with Clark Gear Latham and Associates. I'm the civil engineer on this project, and our address is 3901 Spring Hill Avenue. Not really a whole lot to add to what Mr. Price said, but just to kind of clarify, 209 units for Lot B would be the request there. The total landscaping for Lot A and B is correct. The total landscaping for Lot B we're not there on the frontage for Lot B, but if you were to take both lots into consideration, it does fit. Other than that, that's really all I have. I hope that kind of clears some of that a little bit.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
So, Mr. Tischer, in summation, while Lot B is deficient in terms of front landscaping and doesn't comply with density, the overall site is potentially 1 unit off on density.
Correct. Well, I think Mr. Price is fine with the 209 number on Lot B instead of 210.
Okay. So you're I'm just trying to simplify the overall site. You're maybe 1 off on density. In terms of your roof height, you're
Correct.
3 feet too tall because the parapet's not the roof, it's the roof, and the roof's 48, not 45.
The parapet is,
We don't count the parapet.
okay.
Okay, I
good.
wanna
Then
make
yeah,
sure.
48 is the roof,
Okay.
if that's the case.
So I'm trying to aggregate here. And then the overall site, A and B combined, is compliant with landscaping and frontage.
And frontage.
Landscaping,
Yes. The only thing not compliant is the frontage on Lot B itself.
correct.
Yep.
So in sum, the lot division, although it's, what they're proposing is what's driving it. But Lot A will be built first.
It will be built first, yes. But I would imagine surcharge, if we could, will happen on both of these sites, probably at the same time. Probably go forward with that together.
Mr. Metcalf?
No, I just wanted to also continue to clarify. If you didn't build, if they didn't build on Lot B, then this would all be moot anyway. I mean, you can turn around and sell it to someone else, and it would
Correct.
still have to be in total compliance. So we have to look at it, I think, if we were looking to approve, as if it were all done at one time. So it won't affect anything down the road other than this
Correct.
proposed development
Yes,
in its entirety.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
Margaret.
Okay, just want to clarify, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions of the board or comment? All right, do we have anyone else in support? Okay, anyone in opposition today regarding the application? All right, with that, that'll conclude the public hearing on the application. And thank you, Margaret, for clarification on the various aspects of it.
Mr. William,
Yes.
I had a question. At this time, can we require a traffic impact study, or we'll have to wait till it goes to planning commission?
That's a good question.
The
Traffic
traffic
study.
impact study, it's going to be required regardless.
Yeah, You can't comment from the back, sorry.
Traffic impact study is going to be required, but traffic engineering's wanting to put them on notice now instead of waiting for the planning commission, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine with this size and scale.
And also you'll need approval with AlDOT as well, because it's on their service road for the driveways and everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right. Once again, any comments, questions of the board? All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
And can we go ahead and move for the traffic study as part of?
Well,
the-
again, that's going to be required, but they can't get a permit without it anyway, because that's part of the approval process for permitting. So I don't think we need to do that.
That is correct. It's mostly a notification, almost a redundancy.
It's for their benefit, knowing they
thing.
got to spend another
Exactly.
$15,000.
Exactly. But the findings are 1 through 3, Mr.
Yes.
Metcalf? Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, and all three of the variance, aspects of the variance. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, let's go back to, I think it was 6 that we were waiting on. All right, I'll tell you what, hold on, we're gonna do 10 and then we'll dedicate as much time as we need to 6. I think 10 is the last still on the agenda. All right, application 6578. This will be number 10. Good afternoon. Your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. Evan Gertz with DDG, 3703 Old Shell Road, Mobile.
Okay, and you want to tell us why we should consider your special exception?
Yeah, sure, I would love to. So we're the civil engineer here on behalf of the property owner. They have a tenant. The tenant is called Z-Trip. The city would classify their use as a passenger transportation service, like a taxi service. Certainly no representative for the company myself, but I like to think of it as it's like a cross between a taxi and an Uber. So similar, it's like a taxi, but it's like an Uber, but scheduled. The majority of the business they do right now is non-emergency medical transportation. And we did send to you some additional details on the application with just some bullet points to keep in mind about how they'll use the property. This is kind of a home base to do minor repairs, minor maintenance, and cleaning on their fleet vehicles. Their fleet vehicles are not parked here all the time. Ideally, they have drivers engaged that drive their fleet vehicles and have those as they use them all the time, and they don't leave them parked here. They currently have 50 revenue stickers, and they have 42 vehicles on the road. They project that at maximum they may have up to 75 vehicles. We are aware of all of the proposed conditions, and the applicant is not opposed to any of those conditions and understands it. I want to, ahead of the proposed condition number 1, that shared access between the two properties is permanently fenced off at this time and no longer active. It used to be shared, but it has been permanently fenced off now that the buildings are occupied by separate tenants.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep?
Yes, Chairman, I have a
Yes.
question. Will there be people using or getting in the cars from this location?
No.
So is it really a ground passenger transportation special use? I mean,
It's a great question.
This is their base of operations. They'll be doing maintenance here, and this is where vehicles can be parked. So that was the reason for the assignment of the classification. Very similar to the special exception the board heard last month, although it was primarily medically based.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant? All right, do we have anyone in the audience in support or opposition today? Okay, we have none for the record. And the special exception is because of the maintenance and such on the vehicle?
No, it's the ground passenger transportation. that use requires special exception in B3.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, that'll conclude our public hearing on the application, and Chair entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve based on findings of fact.
Sections 1 through 3. I have a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Yeah, I thought he did. Yeah.
All of the findings of fact. I didn't realize there was 12 of them.
Yeah.
And the conditions. from-
Thank
from
you.
the place
And
by the
the
board.
second will, Mr. Metcalf? Yes. All right, thank you. All right, I think we're here now back to 6. Is that correct? And Mr. Golden is going to recuse himself once again. All right. We get a fresh start at this. Your name and address for the record.
Sir, Mike Brumbury, 2596 Green Meadows Lane, Brookhaven, Georgia, 30319.
Okay, and tell the board why we should consider the application for the
Okay.
variance.
So we redeveloped this old dilapidated industrial building that had been sitting vacant for quite some time. We fixed up the facade, we painted the exterior. In fact, we won an award for it. We spent a lot of time and money into improving this property. I'm here today to request a variance to allow us to partner with a truck rental service company. We have not signed any agreements with any particular company yet. I know U-Haul's been thrown around, but we have not. We've had conversations with them, but nothing's, has been set in stone by any means because we've been going through this variance process. While our address is 361 St. Louis Street, we understand that over the last several years, the city's worked hard to improve that stretch, and a lot of gentrification has occurred on it. We actually, when designing our property, designed purposely for all ingress, egress, loading and unloading to be off Claiborne Street. So if you're at the corner of Claiborne Street and St. Louis Street and you take that pin corner and you go down Claiborne, it's about 175 feet off of St. Louis Street before you get into the parking lot, which is the parking lot that we would propose to park these trucks. We are not in the truck rental business. We are in the self-storage business. But just like you'll see at a lot of self-storage facilities around town, they'll have a partnership with U-Haul or Penske, where U-Haul or Penske will supply some trucks that will be housed on site. The goal will be that those trucks are constantly leaving the facility. They're not staying on site. And I feel like because of 100% of our accessibility is off Claiborne Street, if you go down St. Louis Street, you'll see beside our building is cars that are being parked all along our building that are not for our facility. Those are for the businesses surrounding us. So, in a lot of the letters I read from opposing neighbors, it was voicing concern about us putting a damper on St. Louis Street, and we don't believe that would be the case here, because if you look at the property, our parking lot, you can't even see the parking lot from St. Louis Street. You got to really go down Claiborne Street to get into the parking lot, and then where these trucks can be parked, if we're permitted to do this, we're fine putting them as far away from Claiborne Street as possible, and we're also fine limiting the amount of trucks. We don't foresee there being more than 4 to 5 trucks at any given time, because we'll have to allow for our customers to come in and out. And we ultimately see this as being an ancillary service. It complements our business. trucks will be coming in and out for people that are storing their goods, storing their personal items, and, you know, that's all I got.
All right. Any questions of the board for the
You're welcome.
applicant? Any questions for the board for the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to clarify. You bought the property when?
September 2022.
Okay. And you redeveloped it into the self-storage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this idea, proposal is ancillary to that. It was
Yes,
not
sir.
intended going in, but you think there's some opportunity, so that's why you're asking for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's very
So
ancillary.
the building is not in question?
No.
Okay. It's the additional parking for the trucks and such?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted
It would, you know, it'd be for our customers and it'd be for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And yes, Mr. Morris.
Why do you need to provide the service of the trucks?
Sir.
Why do you need to provide the service of the trucks? I thought it was a storage facility.
Oh, because it's an added benefit for our own customers, and it's a good way of increasing our business and bringing customers to our facility. It helps with that. I mean, our objective is to fill our facility, and we feel that it'd be a great asset to have.
One other question, have you met with the community, the surrounding community?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, I have not.
Thank
you. Okay. Any other questions? All right. If you have a seat, do we have anyone that would like to speak in favor of the application? All right. In opposition? A lot of you people here. A lot of folks. Okay. You get four people in opposition. So yeah, if somebody will come to the podium, please. Good afternoon. Your name and address.
Kelly Baker. I reside at 254 State Street in DeShanty.
Okay. And you're in opposition?
I am in opposition, yes. I would like to ask the board to please deny the request for variance at 361 St. Louis Street for truck rentals for the following reasons. Number one, and the most obvious, is it's not allowed by code. The owner knew this when he bought the property. The UDC says no variance shall be granted where economic loss is the sole basis for the required variance. There is no economic loss without truck rentals here, just no increase in income. The allowed use is not impacted by denying this request. The applicant has not shown any hardship which is required for a variance to be granted. The variance is contrary to public interest, and the applicant has not demonstrated otherwise. It's not in keeping with the pedestrian-friendly walkable streetscape that the city and the citizens have been working so hard to accomplish. The city is about to spend millions of dollars to revitalize St. Louis Street with new sidewalks, curbs, lighting, trees, etc., to enhance the walkability of St. Louis Street. And we all know in Mobile that trucks crack curbs and sidewalks. Furthermore, the approval of this variance would undermine the public's confidence in the code. Granting this variance would diminish the willingness of citizens and surrounding residents to work with the city on these types of improvements. Just to have variances granted for undesirable uses inconsistent with the city's plan for the street. Once a variance is granted, it stays with the property, which begs the question, why even have a code? And lastly, we have a U-Haul 7/10 of a mile down the street at Broad and Spring Hill with plenty of trucks to rent. I would like also to add that you don't normally find truck rentals at storage facilities, at least not in Mobile. The only one I know of is U-Haul. U-Haul down the street is the only one I know of, and with all due respect, it's a terrible blight on that corner of Broad and Spring Hill. So I would like to ask again on behalf of everyone downtown who has spent their own hard-earned money revitalizing the area, please do not grant this variance. And also to add a personal note, when I first moved to Detonte 12 years ago, my dog got hit by a truck on St. Louis Street and killed. So we have a lot more dog walkers now than we did then. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of the board? All right, thank you. All right. We've got room for 3 more. Good afternoon. Name and
Good
address.
afternoon. Wanda Cochran. I'm a resident downtown and attorney, 465 Dauphin Street. I too oppose the proposal, but I don't oppose our new neighbor. It's really great that he took a building and adaptively reused it. And we appreciate that. I, for one, appreciate it. However, I am a big fan of the rule of law. And we have a zoning ordinance that prohibits truck rentals downtown. And it is true that he has a right to ask to be excused from that. It is also true that this board has jurisdiction to allow him to break the rules. That's true. But the board's decision is not ad hoc.
Bless you. Proceed. Sorry.
So what the law requires is that, first of all, this is a use variance. Y'all usually hear 2 different kinds of variances. On the one hand, a use variance, which is what this application is. And the other type of variance is a dimensional variance. That's when people come in and want to adjust their setbacks, or there's something weird going on that they have to rearrange their building. That is not what this is. This is an application that wants to violate the zoning ordinance. Now, what do you have to prove to be able to do that? Well, a zoning ordinance is presumed to be constitutional. It is presumed to be reasonable and fair. And the burden is on the property owner to prove that there is something wrong with his property that is so severe that it warrants relief. The Alabama courts have said, just to sort of summarize what a property owner has to show, I'm going to read to you from the Ferraro case. An unnecessary hardship sufficient to support a variance exists where a zoning ordinance is so unreasonable as to constitute an arbitrary and capricious interference with the basic right of private property. The Downtown Development Code was adopted first in 2014, and I believe our new neighbor purchased this property around 2021, 22. The ban on truck rentals for a parcel that is this size is long-standing. So there is nothing unreasonable about this zoning classification. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bought the property. Second, unnecessary hardship must relate to the land rather than to the owner himself. Mere personal hardship does not constitute sufficient ground for the granting of variance. There will be no hardship on this owner if his request for the variance is denied. Finally, self-inflicted or self-created hardship may not be the basis for a variance or the claim thereof. If you apply these principles to the facts that have been presented, the variance must be denied because the property is properly zoned. It is currently being used in the manner for which it is zoned, and there has been no hardship demonstrated that would warrant allowing this property as opposed to all the other people who own T 5.1 properties to be used as a truck rental business. And thank you, and I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Mr. Metcalf?
Mr. Chairman, on a personal note, Ms. Cochran,
Yeah.
this is the second time in a row that you've come down here and tried to educate this board as to what we do and what our rules are and what we have to do, and preaching to us, and this just from me, and I don't appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have room for two more. Anyone else?
Good afternoon.
Your name and address, please. You can put my
I know, I am. My name is Lucy Cope. I live at 308 St. Louis Street. That's directly across from 361 St. Louis Street. We are a 21-unit loft building with 21 residences. We're fully occupied. We've all invested a lot of money in downtown and in St. Louis Street. Now, we appreciate the gentleman that has built the self-storage unit. It's quiet, it's not disruptive. So far, he's been a good neighbor, and we're happy to have him. We're not happy about the truck rental situation. What size trucks are we talking about? What height are they going to be? With the new rebuild of the St. Louis corridor, you realize that we're going to get overstory trees, medium-sized trees. We're going to have a lot of changes on St. Louis. We're just very concerned about noise, that it doesn't fit into a pedestrian, walkable environment that they've been trying to create on St. Louis. We're hoping that you will please deny this variance. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank
Thank you.
All right, one more. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Kennebec. I don't want to be too loud, but Mark Minard. I live at 312 North Joachim Street. Thanks for the opportunity to speak here today. I am the president of Detente Square, and St. Louis Street is our main corridor, both pedestrian and automobile, to getting in and out, of our neighborhood. One of the biggest problems that we have with the neighborhood, with the proposed variance, is if we look at that site plan, there's no room in that parking lot to turn that truck around. So that means those big trucks with inexperienced drivers, because they are rental trucks, are going to be backing out on Claiborne Street, right across the street from a residential development. And right now we're in the process of redeveloping St. Louis Street, which is going to increase pedestrian traffic, scooters, bicycles. And the whole point of the zoning, the downtown development district, was to create a pedestrian-friendly streetscape. And we think that this is going to be contrary to that. And it's creating an unsafe condition for those of us who live down there. This is, like she talked about, this is where we walk our dogs. This is where my wife runs. Clearly, I don't. But I ride a scooter every now and then. And things like that, that having inexperienced drivers driving large box trucks up and down the street are, it's going to prevent a hazard for those of us that live there and for the businesses that we have down there. Right now we have 2 breweries, a restaurant, a bar, a grocery store, a bakery. These are high kind of retail walkable areas, and that was the whole point and intention of redeveloping St. Louis Street, is to create a second walkable street similar to Dolphin Street. And we really feel like the inclusion of these rental trucks is going to be contrary to that vision. And so that's why we're just asking you to deny that today. Is there any questions for me?
Okay, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good. opportunity for rebuttal to address any concerns?
Okay.
The other mic.
Oh, yeah. I just want to address my neighbors. Tell you guys, I mean, when I first came down here, I was super impressed with the revitalization of St. Louis Street. And, you know, just walking into the Greer's supermarket really had me sold on the area, to be completely honest with you. It's certainly a very up and coming and it's got a lot of potential, a lot of exciting stuff happening. And I just want to make amends with all of you. Because I know I feel like the loneliest guy in the world right now. Literally, I'm sitting here and like everybody's, you know, talking, you know, stuff about me. God, who's this jerk coming into Mobile and messing with our community? With that said, I would like to request for y'all to reject my variance. Thank you.
So I guess what you're saying is.
Have you ever heard that before?
So is this a withdrawal or is it, he's calling for a vote? Okay. All right. Well, that is a first for me too, I think. All right. I think that'll conclude our public hearing on this application. And thank you all for waiting around to hear that. With that, any other comments, questions of the board? All right. Chair, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to deny the application and also to tell that young man, I've never seen anything like that before, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So I have a motion to approve. Excuse me. I just had to say that. Motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All right. Motion carries. Denied. All right. Thank you. Any other business for the board today?